Hello, New Yorkers and people of New Jersey and Connecticut. There were more World Trade Center attacks that a bunch of judges had and their family members and intimate ties associated with people that went to my grammar school. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. One of the things that it has to do with is the conjunctions to um, Route the Berlin Turnpike before the of Hartford, and the Route 3, which goes by the state judicial branch offices. These are also ones on off the state corrections offices with overt criminal enterprises, plural, including private and overt ones, and pretending it's a legitimate undercover and or just standing positions with the intelligence community that they have roles with, because those are used originally and still criminally foreign influenced. They have predicate acts with facts methods that, like wire crimes. WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others. They have roles with intelligence families from all the different areas, with the ones on my street involved with predicate, as ones that came on my street involved with predicate acts with them, like a Robert Rodriguez, who's also all along Route 3 involved with a bunch of people from the Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts, and Connecticut's District Court that had time collusions with them next to WFS, with the names next to WFSB and or at there. The difference of that was used too. Also next to Fox Connecticut News and the names next to it. Also the difference of next to it. And Anthony Agman is one of the ones recorded involved with all kinds of scams where they're charging people with Social Security for fake conversations with them, charging on a mass scale. Hartford Hospital has rules with Los Solitos right on YouTube. I'll put a link to it. I forgot to put the link on more, so I'm not going to talk about that yet. But with a Joey Quest, with a Wethersfield police chief, with a Fred Grisette. Fred Grisette has rules with the FBI and CIA and judges and their family members, planting evidences on and off campuses where they shouldn't have hid what I recorded. When you guys, I didn't know who he was. He was from another area. In the area, I found out he's next to my. He came to my house because to make it look like I never saw him with my neighbors, but he has something to do with a Tim O'Brien, Andrew O'Brien, and a Ray Clough and his sister. I don't know her name. And I think Tara. And they're involved with Newington Police they reportedly with the name Phelps. I don't know them either. And with the name D. Simone, and their roles with Rocky Hill Police with the name O'Brien, and retired police chiefs from Wethersfield and Hartford police chiefs. And they have a bunch of people from Whiting Forensics through time with state police interstates and their family members associated with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and the names involved here. They also bring up a whole bunch of names at once tied to them on a mass scale, attaching people, doing things like attaching people to fake conversations with others, in that saying that those people said that everyone's lying. And these are a whole bunch of people that are lying together and doing and saying that consciously and preventing writing so it won't get discovered. These are people involved with Sandy Hook prison, a prison campus there too. There are proofs that it might be tied to the whoever got killed, hit by like a police guy or a fire guy was reported not long ago, hit by and killed by a car in Newtown, Connecticut. Fox Connecticut News, WFSB, and WTNH have recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed federal evidences crimes with people associated with the corners of streets, like the corners of Elm Streets in Wethersfield and Rocky Hill, associated with, grouped too. There's an Oliveri family at the corner of Elm Street in Wethersfield who sought me out to make a bunch of confessions. I never saw him out one time. They'll probably put me in fake locations, fake, because I know they put me fake change, tie nature ties to him. He has roles with names off the state judicial branch offices, not far from there, and names next to it involved with the World Trade Center Predicate Act and body dumping spots that keep increasingly get brought up, where and how his involvements with people and locations, planting evidences get brought up and changing what's actually recorded. So in other words, they've had the World Trade Center had roles of all kinds of natures of investigators, where they have ones who are also psychiatrists, and they've been involved with all kinds of natures of organized crime, with a whole bunch of different countries and delusions that are relative too. So that's why they're forging and switching names. They can't even speak. In other words, they have to keep trying to force things before courts the way the breaching method showed them they need to. Because all sides of criminal and civil cases and the courts themselves have been switching names and with the sequences and federal evidences crimes with other foreign names involved. And there's worse than that, keeping that problem and the problems it causes here at A through Z, because it's a hyperforeign that came from before modern religious messengers. Founders, and this is recorded too, because we have criminally foreign influence readings of religious books that are relative, where and how they prevent people religious rights and say, oh, I don't want to take your drugs. They've been using drugs to torture the people at the prisons to hide what I caught them doing. They put me in prison with a harassment charge, no writing, and they faked and changed what was recorded to hide what I caught them doing with a proven principal child abuser. I caught them doing worse with more than that too, and more child abusers, leaders of the past, years before that too, that were timed collusions with people associated with them. A Michael Kerr and a Thomas Perone and people associated with them. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed at the corner of Southstein Highway and Town Line Drive. They have roles with judges and prosecutors and foreign and domestic people, intelligence and overt criminal enterprises and private ones. And they have delusions and people involved with religious spots and nexus campuses. And like all sides of a religious spot near a Kerr house is also involved with a Robert Rodriguez and others I don't know the names of. Has something to do with their roles with the intelligence intercities at the campuses and with names next to it, involved planting fake evidences at locations filmed 24/7. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and a whole bunch of different countries have collusions replacing and faking what's actually recorded on those places because no one's checking. And that's one of the reasons they have so many criminal enterprises and things run into Hartford Hospital. A Jamie Smith and a David Smith have roles with some people named Dylan and other police and police chiefs, like a police chief since Toronto 1 year before that, one or more, involved the Collusions family and with themselves, with Hartford Hospital, names at Hartford Hospital with their patients. One of their patients is involved with names that Anthony Agman brought up as some of the doctors. He brought up they have ones with the name Leahy too are involved with him, also with the Wethersfield police, with the social media. They have a Robert Rodriguez involved with federal evidences crimes with a principal child offender, and with a Joshua Julian. He has roles with people, in other words, that repeated my name to. Mark Violet has roles with the intelligence community, and with a Mike Violet too, and their neighbors where they used to live, where they live now, with the intelligence community at UConn too, and their connections to Hartford Hospital. They have lawyers involved with all kinds of mail and wire crime methods they're involved with. They forged the name of a Dr. Shamsi Ali, say forced mental evaluation, and they put all fake things in databases, fake quotations, fake communications with people that never had communications. Because they're using they're recorded using those places to hide lipoaggressions, to hide the worth of their roles as identities of law and associated with them. I don't know if Ray Collusions has a badge, but or what his role is with the intelligence, but I know he has roles with people from Venezuela, with Eric Jensen involved, also with the Moros, with state police places next to him along the Brooklyn Turnpike, and all along, with Judd. There's a Dr. Shube of modern languages. He worked at Yale and he worked at Trinity College, and he lives off of Kitts Lane in Wethersfield. And his neighbors are also involved with the intelligence community, and they were involved with predicate acts models, and they're putting kids next to each other and then having them repeat things, leaving out their roles, criminally foreign influence. Clearer than day, black pupils. See, we have people, in other words, the shootings, they have roles with the shootings because they have roles with the criminal enterprises, keeping them grouped wrong because the breaching method keeps that. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants, Thaddeus Grabowski, is one of the ones right before a 2006 district court case, who has recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed collusions communicated with people named Demain. He didn't use those names. He demonstrated people named Demain and Mendez. As Mendez, police attached me as collusions. That as adults, they attached me to fake conversations with them and at the police station. And they, by stealing a sentence I said to someone next to me and pretend I said it to him. And that was my Saudi friend. These are people that force Saudi. Eric Mendez has roles with a Joe DeMoro and a John DeMoro and a Paul DeMoro. And they have cousins, and one of them has the name Joe DeMoro. They have roles recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, with child offenders through decades, relative to the roles with Koreans, people from Italy, with psychiatry and badges. They're putting fake things in databases, sequence shifts. Their roles with the campuses, putting fake things and things, acting tied to it. Whole bunch of people tied. Joe DeMoro said there's multiple Joe DeMoros have roles with the boxing gyms, with the intelligence community that have been planting evidences there before the World Trade Center attack. And they brought up, they have recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with people named Scalora with it, and the spots next to it, and the court next to the World Trade Center that day, the Ninth Circuit Court. It was proven that they had post-dated legal papers that were brought to the court on time. Then that was proven. Then that led up to the part of the 2006 district court case, but now it was in Connecticut instead of Manhattan. Part of it was in Washington, D.C. one time. Also, 2 speech class teachers increasingly have collusions with the names on the state judicial branch and corrections offices, who have roles with the people named Cololo with predicate acts with them, and with the DeMoro, and with the people who were seating. Like, I don't know that Dave. I never had a sentence with him. They try to make a fake exception and make it look like other next to the judicial branch, next to the corrections offices years ago. I don't know his teachers. In other words, they have roles with the intelligence community, with wire crime acts and methods. Additionally, multi-front with the news at the same attack as their roles with Saudis I don't know the names of, at spots next to them, and with people from other countries I don't know their names of, and our own I don't know the names of. A whole bunch of people tied to it, people with the name Casper. And I don't know his sister. There's a Czech Casper. I don't know his sister's name. I don't know his father's name. These are also coaches used to repeat fake things and keep things, in other words, fake ties, fake nature ties to people, and sequence shifts. Increasingly, people tied to a gym class teacher I did have, but I never had a personal conversation with him. He's involved with mayors and a Jonathan Maiano, planting evidences with a whole bunch of people at new predicate acts roles, with sequence shift roles, with a whole bunch with the people with the predicate acts roles at New Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts. Has something to do with their roles with the spots next to the state capitol. Increasingly, their roles with whatever fake things that the O'Brien and Cololo pretended. See, O'Brien, Cololo, and DeMoro are connected to families with, like, where they moved from, reportedly for them, when they used to live near the state corrections offices. And it's at the end of 3 spots at the end of the Burlington Turnpike. A Mark Violet and a Joshua Schumack have federal evidences crimes with Wethersfield police at 3 spots at the end of the Burlington Turnpike. Identity theft, fraud, slanders with people that have something to do with Trinity College when I was a kid and then as an adult, with their roles there with them, with that. I don't know all their names. They're like, these are people with the people taking pictures of people walking next to each other are collusions because they pretend they don't realize exceptions, but they can't address those exceptions in the courts properly because they have roles with all sides of criminal and civil cases. The courts names themselves put in the same sequence shifts and the intelligence tied to them, foreign and domestic. These are people with a whole bunch of different countries at the same time and their extended family members, Afghan leaders of kids and kids, Pakistani leaders of kids and kids involved with psychiatry too, and medicine corruption, shipping spots in their language and their professions at the corner of with the businesses and names associated with I work with people that work with them and not. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed to my previous neighbors. These are also people rules with untimely deaths and other natures of organized crime acts at the same time at Trinity College as the ones who were doing it into cities, and then planted evidences on all sides of my house rules. The same ones that did that with a Robert Rodriguez. See, that was confirmed on Facebook. He's the one who brought the principal child abuser to me. And I still didn't get a response for his confessions and how they faked and changed what's digitally recorded. And the courts switched names and made confessions about putting different arresting officers on the falsified police reports, plural, for the same arrest, /S. They even threw in a promise to appear with an East Hartford cop who was the arresting officer at Central Connecticut State University. But he didn't arrest me there. But then because I didn't do anything, and they faked what I did, but they're changing what's recorded. And he came from and gave a promise to appear to my mother when I wasn't even here, from in Wethersfield, and he's an East Hartford cop. He has others with the name Manos, and he brought up the name Steve Manos. Steve Manos is one of the names that was in the Ninth Circuit. I believe he was there in the Ninth Circuit Court as next to the World Trade Center towers right before the attack. But that's one of the people on both sides of that case, and the court itself recorded involved against me. We're leading up to all the in Connecticut cases and in that one there, and in the places next to the World Trade Center the night before. Increasingly, people who had conversations with the Keene family about me are increasingly involved with them too. No, but I never had a conversation with Dan Keene in my life. They try to make it look like other with people like that I never even saw around campuses that pretended I tried to sign me up to run against him for a class president. See, there's people in the background, in other words, including the people who built the yearbook, increasingly are involved with whiting forensics people, planting evidences with state police, families, interstates, and their educators. I don't even know who the educator of Ray Claw was when he was in 5th grade, but that person's also involved, and he came in when he was in 4th grade to my grammar school. Increasingly, people that I never had conversations with at my grammar school, as adults and as kids, have been pretending other. Increasingly, I found out one of the names is a Brendan Leahy, or one or more. I believe there are more than one Brendan Leahy, and there are women in their family that work with Hartford Hospital's Institute of Living, the mental health care side. And they have a whole bunch of people who planted evidences on my street, made confessions about his roles with it. So he has roles with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and a Brian Silver with New Britain Superior Court with a whole bunch of other names, judges, even female judges, black and white female judges with some KKK, black theme, Confederate flag theme. These are not legitimate roles, that our presidents have and have had with descriptions of our founders, which are tactically ulterior from what they, describe them as. How you doing, Super Logic? Yes, this is live. I'm in other words, I caught them with overt criminal enterprises and private ones on a mass scale. They run in, for example, where Investigators, they have been used remotely, criminally foreign influence since founding. So, like, in other words, where there are shootings and stuff all the time, that's not on the people. They're blaming the cause on other things other than themselves, because the people involved with only ones allowed to speak for it formally are the ones blocking others' voices out, because they have roles with predicate acts with facts methods that are recorded. Really sick collusions with all. There's an Institute of Living that was founded as the mental health care side of hospitals. But it was founded in 1822 with slavery still entrenched in northern states and southern states. And the counters as collusions, used to measure and maintain other than the breaching methods employment slash S of that. Sickly distinctly through England, sickly distinctly through Spain, through sickly distinctly through the other countries' roles. African countries' roles. All these countries' roles, A through Z, have been systems tactile ulterior for the individual species bodies, individuals, names, differences of its difference. See, it's the difference, the hyper simultaneous is showing us, it's projecting to us its body, hyper invisible. We see we have the same color eyes at the same time as we have different color eyes. And other species bodies have two eyes, quality aspects in nature, just like that. They didn't invent that, and we didn't invent that. In other words, so we could discern there's another identity of value progression that comes with this. So there's the identity of space / existence. But so, for example, Fox News has their social media involved with Wethersfield police with overt criminal enterprises like Los Solitos that use the name. Per them, Joey Quest, different people too through time. And people with the name Fred Grisey, involved with a police chief Cintron, involved with the same houses, Smith and Colol, with a whole bunch of people tied to them, with the police forging and switching names, with the courts doing the same thing, preventing writing. And they have their patients and criminals, overt criminal enterprises with them, planting evidences behind my back at my campuses with other names. I can't get anyone onto paper. So in other words, that's what their motivations for pretending to be against criminal enterprises, pointing out the bad things they do, but pretending they can't fathom why. See, they're keeping the kids at the countries A through Z at the campuses victims, because there is not science that's speaking for New York City. Science never spoke for New York City, because the suburbs were designed tactically to nature before America's founders were even born. They have self-valued roles with our founders' communications replaced. Self-valuing means to hide that by using what they said, leaving out what they declassified about that. We can observe that, but we have to have evidences treatment that's not going, well, what's your research? In other words, we have black pupils, whites of eyes. First of all, that's the first thing, hyper-evidential, that's our research. We have the same color eyes, different color eyes, projected by nature itself. We don't need their delusions, their theories. You see my training videos, and I'm trying. Thanks. In other words, I haven't been in the ring in a long time, since shortly before the World Trade Center attack. Shortly before the World Trade Center attack, a dean judge from Central Connecticut State University, a whole bunch of people tied to Gail King too, and to her roles of people on and off Central Connecticut State University, with the sides of it involved with evidence diffusion, racketeering worse than war crimes, difference racketeering worse than war crimes. Forgiveness is because they are only capable of that. At A through Z, or that body is sensed, including if it is a majority of people, including if it is everybody, black pupils. So they can't follow mandated law, would have revealed these things. So they have all kinds of drugs and medicines crimes and mail and wire crimes. They've been faking transcripts and fake conversations with people and with myself through the mail at Central, from Hartford Hospital's roles with a Leahy family. One thing, a whole bunch of people tied to him, with judges and prosecutors personally and professionally involved with them. Fake identity theft, fraud, slander. That's why we have them speaking about identity theft, fraud, on a mass scale. they're charging people for all these services. We don't even need them. Our country, when they speak about, oh, we have to make jobs because the Democrats or the Republicans, that's not what the Constitution unabridged means. There's a difference between our founders and our presidents. And George Washington was extorted. No one will allow that to be demonstrated because everyone used their different spake exactly the way the breaching method knew they would. That's why exactly the way the religious, the books were written, knowing that the people that would preserve the books and counter them and the exceptions, they would need them as collusions. The breaching method would. It does. That's why they fight together with that difference to prevent anyone from even speaking about how both the Quran and the Old Testament comes with parts up front that dictate how to read those books. Like, for example, the Old Testament comes with a part that dictates, it says, only defend right here where the names of the people of the sciences will come together, and the part before it. See, but instead of doing that or letting that be done, people want to use their knowledge of good and evil and defend the book out of sequence with delusions too. And then they want to pretend, and then same thing with the Quran. The reason they have debates about the hijab is because they won't give the girls freedom of if you read the beginning of the Quran, it says only thing that matters is if you're honest about, are you going to call the identity of the hyper-simultaneous Allah or not? It even qualifies it by telling that person for the slightest reason. If you discern needs not to, or you don't want to pray in a mosque, don't do it. Prayer is not enforced by the religion. Only being honest about the name of Allah as a scientific value, as a scientific identity of hyper-simultaneous, of the hyper-simultaneous. English was revealed to teach this. With Allah's name, spelling is more probable. For example, with Allah's name, spelling alpha long alphas high. And with the Trinity, because there's only an extent of the complete identity of all space/existence that we could discern with every truth. But with even the slightest extent of what is true always that we could discern, it comes its complete identity of relationship to itself equally as value. And the value of that. And all three of them are equally increasing if we really pay attention honestly. Because this is also how nature itself revealed this to the ancients. English was revealed to teach this. It's about the quality of the fusion as its identity of relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that. As just like how your identity is that way, the value to the cells of your body, the smaller part, the individual parts of your body have a semi-nature relationship to your complete identity. And nature shows us to appreciate the species body. We're shown we have a unique species body, but a distinct one, but it is also non-distinct. And it is simultaneous, but it is also further hyper-simultaneous. There are proofs that consciously there is maintenance to people with passions and emotions with the word God to keep sabotaged. In other words, there's a distinction between God and the identity of the hyper-simultaneous per science. A God variable. In other words, during the times when we know there was slavery entrenched, northern colonies, southern colonies, sickly distinctly. And everyone would not address how sickly non-distinctly, or they would be sensed not having roles with what they called law, for example. Or the other natures of overt criminal enterprises and private ones that colluded with them, when with syntax, when with their own names of locations, uses of others' names, defending what couldn't defend itself and afford to be, let alone to protract short words with convictions proper regarding how, with syntax alone, to counter completely and perfectly criminal insidiousness nature. imposed upon and as the value of all syntax. See, those laws enforce that. You entertain those laws that they had entrenched. Even our founders couldn't uproot them. They were supposed to see the experts on things had obligations to teach us. In other words, what nature shows us. When nature shows us that the reason the early states still had roles with slavery, northern states and southern, was because they were still entrenched roles with the breaching method that no one was capable of discerning except for where and how. They could only discern how they were being collusion. They were getting trouble far short of being able to even counter part of it for just making proper fact-checking nature. So WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, and WTNH have roles with all kinds of natures of organized crimes. And they get away, they have methods of it. Like predicate acts, wire crime, mail crime, sequence shifts, federal evidences, crimes like that. And rolls with itself out because their nature is used too. Because then they hide and contribute to wire crime acts and methods too, where the intelligence community is sometimes the ones doing it, the ones at their locations. Sometimes it's the one next to them. And it's increasingly from there to all right back to all locations /S, where that breaching method made A through Z stay collusions with itself, and no one wanted that. Nature itself makes sure of that. Nature itself demonstrates when we take part with, even if everyone agreed to take part with abridged Constitution's value and nature would demonstrate with negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. See, the Constitution unabridged is the policy, but people want to have foreign policies and they want to speak economics and pretend they could speak about practical reason as little fakes. You have to be able to deal with the predicate acts with facts and get out of the way. Not you. I mean, one who wants to speak as the voices of the law. They cannot do it. That's why they have to steal people's identities, and they are delusions wrought. Black pupils, we know this. See, we have forgiveness is because of how this breaching method always has other names involved with our subject treatments, and where there's guilt involved. And see, it knew that it could get them to leave out the other names' involvements until those other names they're blaming things, and to get people to blame things on other things, others ourselves, things that nature itself is demonstrating is involved with the breaching method. We can observe this, for example. Let me see. We could observe this breaching method. I lost some person who was listening. There's no more listening people. In other words, Hartford Hospital has a Leahy family, apparently from Wethersfield. I don't know where they live. And they're involved with a Brian Silver. He might be a prosecutor. He's involved with Connecticut's District Court and with New Britain Superior Court and with Hartford courts and their families and intimate ties. And they have been planting evidences next to campuses too, with the names next to it, with everything that comes before them, and just with things made up. And they've been refusing to identify themselves legitimately and or also roles with that, and the difference of that and their narratives by that was also used remotely, criminally for an influence. See, these are federal evidences rackets that are difference rackets. So the same people who had roles speaking for differences formerly in the past, they're self-valuing without even realizing, except for extent, how they have like all these gangs of this culture and that culture, because these are people with the differences, same cultures here. Oh, but this is a good person. This would never kill anyone. Try to get them to follow mandated law. They're criminal cities, just nature A through Z, or they are sentenced and hurt. All exception nature come with demonstration of the same things. Ain't it too? Oh, I have been begging Judge Napolitano on YouTube to get them on paper, one name and sequence. They're using mail and wire crime acts and methods. They already pretend me to fake mail. I'm not gonna make it more complicated. You guys can't. You guys pretend you can't understand the slightest thing. Your help does. In other words, this is why there are streams of people going into courts in Connecticut, New Jersey, New York every day. Those courts are criminally foreign influence, collusion /S at all locations /S. Then further with the databases where I'm employed to be a further layer there. And then further with the sciences names and the names of the people of the sciences are manifest. They're coming forward. They're shown that there are kids coming up that are capable of discerning. They are using and have used criminal insidious natures of positives and collusions with the overt and insidious negatives, like predicate acts. So, in other words, we can't have predicate acts with facts predators countering the worst things, because in other words, they're just using that to hide behind. These are collusions. These are difference brackets. That's why how the overt criminal enterprises, private ones, the family members of campuses, even especially concentrated with fire campuses, they run into high lipoaggressions at Harper Hospital. See them with Russians and Americans in Ukraine. They have Russian families, Ukraine families involved with Harper Hospital intelligence. What are you doing with the Russian families? Why are you hiding? Why am I get them on paper, one name and sequence? You little cowards. You pull someone in a place where they can't leave, and then you fake conversations with them. Get them on paper, Judge Napolitano. Let's go, because there's more violence, because they have their patients and criminals recorded involved on my street with them. And the Wethersfield police refusing to identify themselves too. And with other police ones. And this whiting forensics is increasingly with the same house /S since I was a little kid. Involved with predicate acts with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and totally different body dumping spots, but timed uses of them. And then again, that's also recorded, demonstrated, confirmed on Facebook. But you guys changed what's actually recorded on Facebook. Facebook also has roles with that. See them with the word uses of the words extremism and radical. You got, in other words, you guys have your priorities messed up, because obviously the economics are messed up. You guys have all kinds of scams through the mental health care places. That's all that money should have been. No, it's not helping the hospital when you're gaining money by gaining it through organized crime acts and methods and delusions, raw psychopaths. Get them out. You guys owe a lot of money to the people of Harper Hospital throughout the country. We're going to have to purge the mental health care sides of the things. Plus, they are delusions, raw black pupils. We're going to need real logic experts. So let's get me off the fake conversation with this Leahy family and their roles with the judges and prosecutors, like this one Brian Silver, involved with the Rick Cianfaglione and wire crimes on my street, planting evidences and sequence ships, fake ties, fake natures of ties to me. He recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that has their roles with corners of buildings and Quinnipiac University. They have judges and prosecutors planting evidences at Quinnipiac University, identity theft, fraud, slanders, acting to pretend to hide what came first. Don't look at that too. Don't leave that out. In other words, there's a Kevin Harris further too, with more medical natures of offenders of kids with involved with the Harris family and people and one's tied to them involved with this. I never had a conversation with him verbally in my life. Kevin Harris. There are proofs that they took a picture of him walking out of the side of the building near me. They were planting. They're making people trying to look like I knew people. Some every once in a while with someone like that, so I would know. I don't even know some of their names, but on that side of the high school, and on all sides of the high school, different way in all the schools, there are people that got brought into this, and you could discern. We could all be able to discern it. But you have to be able to discern details like that. You have to still be able to. You have to focus on the World Trade Center predicate acts, the fake conversations that WFSB pretended with me. And the change one, because I tried to call them on the phone a year before that, when they did that, when I caught them with the principal child offender, they're making sequence shifts all kinds of ways. So, in other words, New Britain Superior Court, Hartford Courts, and Connecticut's District Court have roles with Judge Napolitano's social media with Fox Connecticut News, and with the social media of WFSB, and with the social media of the campuses involved with the Joshua Stryker, and with some intelligence families changing and faking what's digitally recorded to hide their life progressions and roles of identity theft, fraud, slander since they were kids, pretending people that they don't even know they aren't even have classes with, like Justin Klavinskis. You can't get online because you're a little coward. You would see a little creep describe himself and others fake. Same thing with Joshua Stryker. Joshua Stryker lying about himself and others since I was a kid. Identity theft, fraud, slanders with people on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the campuses, intercities. Yeah, something he's recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed also with my previous neighbor involved with and then people with the name Collusions that they confessed involved with them planting evidences with a judge, with a dean Alford, who was already in one of the ones involved with the Dean Judd and the FBI director and the court's family members with the spots next to the campuses. And you guys are linking this. They're leaking this. New Britain Superior Court's family and their intimate ties are leaking this too. I mean, and also with the Hartford courts tied to Eric Burgess. Eric Burgess asked me for help regarding this, and people on Central Connecticut State University involved with it, and the dean, then I didn't, he realized I wasn't going to do it the way he wanted me to give him the help, so he brought the Dean Judd's kid into it. And in other words, I didn't respond to him. He doesn't know me. He tried to make fake exceptions. They have roles with foreign and domestic military leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. And my Saudi friends recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed there are people on off each of the campuses I went to in life that have ties to them. Saudi Arabia has communications with Trinity College and with Central Connecticut State University with people that are criminally foreign influenced, tactically delusions raw. These are also people involved with the people that live next to the campuses through time and businesses and stuff like that. So get them on paper, one name in sequence, please. And what are they doing with the corners of the street on Griswold? And what are they doing with the woman on Valley Crest who's been in the thing? Please warn her of her neighbors' involvement with the people involved with the public television. See how they block the comments and you can't comment into it because these people have been switching and they've been switching what's actually recorded. Facebook has roles, and sometimes it was all Facebook people, and sometimes it was all Wethersfield police. Sometimes it was the courts. The difference of that is hid behind too, because these same names have roles with a whole bunch of countries. Joe Demoro said it's something. He has roles. He confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed. He has roles. He sought me out too. I never used to seek him out. I recorded them hiding, planting evidences, so I could defend kids when I got older. I knew I would have to do it. But you guys prevent me of free speech intercity. I'll show you how to think too. I'll show you how because you guys have sick leaders that are little punk cowards. You can't get on paper with this principal Michael Emmett too. He's recorded involved switching the digital evidences with the agencies involved and with the state police involved. Get them on paper, one name in sequence, so we don't have to keep. And don't pretend you want privacy, because you guys brought this up. People with the Britain Superior Court have roles, a whole bunch of different news advertisements. And you guys are preventing people. No one has time to counter all the fake. They keep bringing stories. They're putting fake motives too. They know they're making mistakes. They're putting fake conversations with people. One shouldn't have to beg to get them on paper. I want to know too. The rest of the people. I want the rest of the security with this Dylan name and the ones tied to the name Cololo. And I want to see what they're doing with the unions tied to the Cololo in those spots on Airport Road. Watch. See that spot next to those campuses next to. Watch.